And anyway, long story short, I hit the big guy and he flew through the glass plate. Can you imagine a restaurant with like packed? I mean, people waiting.
Prime time.
Prime time. I hit the guy. He flies through the window. Like 250 pounds hit that window. He went right through it.
Welcome to the Maverick Entrepreneur Podcast, where business success meets personal purpose. Here we empower entrepreneurs to strike that perfect balance between massive growth and unwavering values. Dive deep into strategies, inspirations, and stories that ensure you set your foundation in faith and don't compromise your family on your ascent to the top. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Maverick Entrepreneur. Today is a very special episode because we're bringing Uncle Steve in. If you've been a part of my life at any part of the journey, then you will know or have heard of the infamous Uncle Steve. So, Uncle Steve, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. And so we're going to get right into it. And this is just really going to be partially entertainment, partially for the entrepreneurs out there. This might be a big wake-up call for you. Sometimes I like to call Uncle Steve shock and awe. And he's been, most of my good counseling sessions came from a good Uncle Steve story. He's been abusing me emotionally, mentally, and physically since I was born, pretty much, all to make me a better human being. So the version of me that you get is probably a good product of some good old-fashioned butt kickings from Uncle Steve. So, welcome to the show. You ready for this?
Yeah, let's
you sure?
do it. Yeah.
So I will give a little context just so you guys know. My uncle, it's not like I'm just bringing my uncle up here just to have an episode with my uncle. It's really because he's a very successful entrepreneur. He's been one since he was very young. And I would say that I've attributed a lot of my success and things that I've done in life would be probably from the upbringing. I had great parents, but, sometimes you all need that inspiration of someone that is going to speak life into you to level up your life in another way. And sometimes we don't like to listen to our parents, even though they might have great wisdom. I think as kids, we think we know it all. But when you got an Uncle Steve in your life that is a big influence, then you start to build habits and my watch habit came from you. You started that thing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. You should be. Because, the truth is, that's a funny story. I didn't even know how much the watches you were giving me. You gave me one when I graduated high school. Then you gave me one when I graduated Westmont, which was a really nice one. And then when I graduated grad school, you gave me another one. There was like these graduation gifts, but I had no idea. And you were down here one time, and I was complaining because it wasn't working. And when I went to go take in my Breitling, just this little gold clasp on the thing was $225. Yeah, and I had no idea. I'd never paid for a watch. But I was rolling around with some baller watches, had no idea. And I looked at the guy and I said, "You got to be kidding me. Is that replacing the whole watch?" And he goes, "No. You know this Breitling, this is a collector's with the bullet band."
Yeah.
I still wear it all the time.
Yeah, that's
You probably want it back.
I do.
I know. I knew you would. That's why I didn't wear it in this episode, just in case you saw it and you're like, "I want that watch back." So anyways, the guy told me, "Dude, this thing's probably, because the bullet band and everything, this probably is worth, almost 10 grand. I go, "There is no way." And so I called you, and you're like, "You better make sure that every watch I gave you is insured." I had none of them insured. I had no idea. So that was very eye-opening because I got them all appraised. And then I was thinking to myself, man, I was really grateful you bought me those watches, but I would have never spent my money because I knew I put all my money back into business at the time, thinking to myself, dear Lord, I need to wear these more carefully. I was just wearing them everywhere, thinking I just got a nice watch from my uncle. They were baller watches. So the watch addiction, I think my car problems I have because of you. I can't, if I have a nice car, I keep it a year. You don't even keep it 3 months.
No, I keep them 6 months. Yeah.
6 months. You go through cars.
I go through cars.
You go through cars. So my car addiction came from you. So let's see, watch habit, car addiction. What other bad habits do I have?
Those are all good habits. I mean, you say they're bad, but first of all, time's money in business, right?
Are you getting right into this?
Okay, I'm getting right into it. Cars, I used to tell all my managers, drive a nice car. When after you've worked 16 hours minimum, You need to get in something that's comfortable because it helps build your self-esteem. You start feeling good about yourself.
It's true.
If you work hard in the beginning and you get in this old broken down car, how's that for your morale? 3 things: time, have a great car, and have a good mattress. Okay? Because you spend a lot of your life in your car and sleeping on your mattress. Okay?
That's true.
Now, people around me don't get as much use as the mattress as the average person.
Because you work them hard.
because
You did buy it. You were good to your managers, though. They all walked around with nice Rolexes and Breitlings and watches.
Yeah, and I had a massage therapist. I built the offices so they could come in and give the guys massages, and because they worked hard.
Yeah, they did. You were a little bit. I guess since we're getting right into it, but cigars was another one you got me into.
Yeah,
it's probably a bad habit.
That's not a good habit. But,
yeah, but you know what it is.
But everything in moderation.
But do you know what you told me about cigars? You said, hey, when you start your business, find the local cigar shop, and that's where you need it. Don't go party with your friends. Don't go waste your time. Go smoke a cigar with some of the old timers. You're going to learn a lot in there. And I will tell you that got me into politics. Amazing how many politicians. I'd walk in, there'd be senators, there'd be all these people, business entrepreneurs that own restaurants. I mean, it's like I knew where to go fishing.
Yeah.
And you start getting those people in your business like I did in my chiropractic table. It's amazing. I met them all at this little cigar shop down here. I go smoke a cigar. I was the youngest dude in there. Didn't even know what I was doing. And they wanted to know what I did, and I was a chiropractor. Yeah. They all became patients, mentors. I learned that tidbit from you.
Great demographics in a cigar store.
You know what you got me also into is manicures. You said you're going to be a chiropractor, and if you're going to touch people, you need to make sure that your hands look good. Manicures.
Back in the old days, I used to get manicure pedicures before it became popular with men because I worked around food. Yeah. And it's important, how you carry yourself, how you dress. We won't get into that.
Yeah, but, don't judge me, man.
I don't need
you piping off about my
carrying
dress.
yourself is very important. You project an image, a certain image. And even when you start out, I used to tell people, fake it till you make it. You got to have that winner mentality. Don't act like you're on the bottom of the food chain. Okay.
Oh, man. I think some people take that out of context, though. I got some people hating on that fake it till you make it vibe, but it is true. I did learn that from you, too. But
don't make, when I say fake it, the way you carry yourself. I'm not saying don't tell people you got a lot of money when you can't afford the gas in your car.
Don't go run an episode at
But you also don't want to tell them that you can't afford the gas in your car.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. It's true.
And,
well, I would love for you to speak into a couple things just because, even though we're joking around all the bad habits, I mean, you've been in the restaurant business since you were how old?
I think I got in the restaurant business when I was 20. 20. Yeah, it was 20.
So dinner houses all the way from when they were popular, big time dinner houses, to I think your claim to fame was when you started the pizza chain and you won. How many times do you win that Vegas pizza contest?
Well, we were featured in an International Pizza Today magazine, and we were known all over in the industry because we were doing very high volumes.
Listen, our pizza stores growing up, because I've worked for you since I was 12. Not legally, by the way. I mean, I was just a slave at 12. But, I mean, literally the minute I could drive, I was working at all the restaurants. And I'm sure you fired me a lot.
Yeah, Matt used to drive around he had the business card, said he was vice president of, marketing?
No, I wasn't marketing. I made up my own thing. That's where, remember, because I couldn't afford to go on dates. So what I did was I would take them to a different store, different restaurant. Yeah. And I told you that I was checking the food out. So I was getting comp meals on a date. But really what I was doing is quality control. Yeah. So I was the vice president of quality control. So I was making sure all your restaurants, like if I ordered a burger, the burger was the same at every restaurant. And if I ordered a pizza, they were coming out at the same. I was giving you good intel. I felt.
Thank you so much.
Do you think it helped in the success of Original Pete's?
Oh, I'm sure.
How long did you own Original Pete's? Like the store on J Street. How long was that there for?
Oh my God, 30 years.
30 years. Yeah. I mean, the one thing I learned from you, you said something so true, is you would always change it. You'd change the menu all the time. You'd change the look. One time I came in, you had TVs up everywhere. I'm like, What are you doing? You said something, I never forgot it. You're like, most restaurants don't survive because they stay the same. You always have to be adapting. You always got to be changing. I just get used to one menu and then you change it.
Well, the problem in the restaurant business, people get complacent. The demographics are changing all the time. The baby boomers, okay, they're a large percentage of the population.
Yeah.
So back in the old days, round table, their demographics were 18 to 26. Well, all those people got older and their taste changed. They became more sophisticated. They wanted the microbrews. So I just changed with the demographic. Ever where the market and the money is, that's where I want to be.
That is good wisdom. It's true. I look at, in my industry, some people have the same posters on the wall for 20 years.
Right. Look at
I got to go
a lot
mix
of the
it
big
up.
companies, even the successful ones like Subway. Look at them today. They're, they never change. They always look, people, you want to refresh yourself. Your trade image, okay, the imagery when you go into a place, if you keep it the same for 30 years, sooner or later people are going to get tired of it because there's new things coming up. So you got to be competitive. You got to be on the cutting edge.
So true. Would you say, what do you think it takes for people to be successful today?
Well, I think the main thing is people's mindset. Okay.
Yeah.
Luckily for me, I grew up in a, Southern Baptist background where I went to Sunday school.
My grandpa was a preacher.
And I learned that, that everything's faith driven. I really believe that. Okay.
Yeah.
There's two types of faith, right? There's faith that you believe in Jesus, right? Which is the best. Or there's another faith, you believe in yourself. You look how many motivational programs are out there where people make a lot of money taking people that don't have self-confidence. So the element of faith is kind of like I've said before, is like gravity. God made it and it works for everybody.
Yep.
Faith works if you can, but there's two types of faith. There's a faith that'll get you things in this world, and then there's a different kind of faith that'll not only get you things in this world, but it'll also get you to heaven.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is the most important.
Because a lot of people used to come to me and say, Steve, I know lots of people that are really wealthy and they're bad people. And I said, but they have wealth because they understand they have self-confidence. They believe in themselves. They believe they can do it, so they do it. But that's a different type of faith than believing in Jesus, than what he did on the cross for you and me. So
Looks like Grandpa's preaching's in you a little bit. You think you're a preacher?
Well, I'll tell you, no, I don't. But
You're pretty good at
what
it.
I do believe is that, if you believe the Bible story, okay, you get it all.
Yep.
What is it if you gain the whole world and lose your soul?
Yeah.
This life is very temporal. At my age, I realize it's like yesterday I was beating you up when I was in my 20s. Now I'm 70. You know what I mean? Where'd it go?
I don't even know if I could take you in your 70. Like, I wanted to headbutt you last night.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
I know. You know what? Because you beat me. We went consecutive games in Chinese checkers. And so we're a very competitive family, by the way. We used to play miniature golf. If my grandpa fell down, we were yelling at him because he was trying to cheat all the time.
Yeah.
And we didn't care. But we looked up one time. Grandpa was on the ground.
He was 85 years old.
85 years old on the ground. And we looked up, and everyone at the mini golf place was judging us because we were screaming at an old guy. But he was cheating, but he was trying to, we were so competitive. I mean, he went to heaven being competitive. I think that my last game, we were playing rummy, and he was so mad I beat him. I thought I was going to give him a heart attack.
Yeah.
So I was like, I almost wanted to let him win, but I didn't.
That's a family trait. We don't
family
like to
trait,
lose.
man. But who do you think? I'm beating you at least in ping pong, right?
Yeah. Well, I can't see the ball anymore, so you probably have a chance.
I know that's true, but you're pretty strong for 70.
Yeah. No, I feel great.
And you're still in the marketplace. So like, how many restaurants do you have now?
Just under 100.
Just under 100 restaurants. I will tell you, people, you need to listen to this. It's not like you didn't have a silver spoon. You came from nothing. You've lived a great lifestyle. I remember one of the most generous things you did. I remember I was going to an older girl asked me out in high school to go to prom, and I was embarrassed because I had a beat up Honda, and you rolled up in your brand new Lexus with 20. I think you had 20-inch rims before 20-inch rims were a thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, take that Lexus. Man, I was the man at homecoming that year. I think that was like 91. Do you remember that Lexus?
Yep, I remember.
That maroon one?
That was a pretty car.
And then one time, remember the time you picked me up in your Porsche and you said it could fly?
Yeah.
And then, so here I am, this little kid. This is how he was. Picked me up in his Porsche, and he'd be going, and I didn't know when you hit the gas pedal on a Porsche, it would like suck to the ground and then kind of lift off. Well, he would pretend to pull the e-brake while he'd hit the gas, and you'd feel the back end go down, the front end lift up. I thought we were flying. Then he goes, you're not ready for it. You're not ready. So I'd be screaming as I had to be like 4. But I think I went from like 4 till like 9 believing Porsches could fly. And then if someone's Porsche couldn't fly that I got into, I said, well, that's because your Porsche sucks. My uncle's got a Porsche that can fly. You know what I mean? Maybe I went into high school thinking that. I mean, I probably need counseling over that. But you were always generous with your cars. Remember that one Corvette that I had that you gave me?
Was that you or Michael that was doing donuts in the parking lot?
That was me, but here's why. It was an accidental donut because you didn't tell me it was the Z70, ZR1 or some crazy one. You weren't insured. You couldn't get insured because you were such a crazy driver, but you went and had it chipped. Remember this? And so you didn't tell me that you had it chipped, and I pulled out of the parking lot at Holiday Market at Lake of the Pines, and I just went to show my brother how fast it was. Man, that thing chipped, spun us in a thing, but luckily I raced karts my whole life. We spun a Brody in the middle of the road. My brother was screaming, and I had to pay him $20 and never tell you. Obviously, he told you. But that was an accidental 360 move that I pulled out, but that was from a chipped Corvette that you let me drive. Then I remember I got addicted to trucks because you gave me your truck for a whole summer, that Chevy Z71 Silverado. Oh, man, I loved it. So now I realized that you created a lot of like,
that's good.
it's a good thing.
Good
It motivated me. I think the reason why I started goal setting is because I could have a nice car one day.
Yeah.
I'm still there. You know, I'm looking out my parking lot going, I can't even let you drive any of my cars right now because I'm slumlording it. I need to level up my life. What's your favorite car?
I don't know. I have different ones, right?
What's the one you just bought that you drove down here and I got it for a day?
The Turbo S Porsche. That's pretty nice. You know, but there's different spectrum. I really enjoy the Bentley. I enjoy my 580 Mercedes. I have the AMG Mercedes 63.
Yeah, but
they're all great cars. I bought the new Range Rover. I love them all. You know,
you're a car guy.
Yeah,
I'm inspired by your car addiction.
Yeah,
that's
and
good.
I do it. You know, I do it because I love it. You know, I've always liked cars.
You are. What habits do you think you picked up from Grandpa? Besides competitive.
I think that's the biggest thing. You know what? My dad had an influence. Obviously, my parents, like I told you last night, the best thing they ever did was take me to Sunday school when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because, you know, got pretty wild. You know, I went through that phase, but it seems like...
When did that phase end?
Well, you know, I'm still kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but...
okay, at least you're being honest today on the podcast.
Yeah, so, but I mean, that foundation really helped me through life because it was actually, you know, my success in business. I still, to this day, I give God all the glory, all the praise. You know, it's because of Him. But I had faith, you know, and being successful, you have to be a gladiator. You got to be able to work. That's how life is. You know, God puts you through trials, and He builds that faith. You know what? You go through a lot of trials, and it makes you stronger. And you know, I'm thankful that whatever happened in my childhood, I always had a lot of drive. You know, I left home when I was 15, worked 3 jobs, took care of that old veteran, and I learned a lot of life lessons. And I always had to work hard because obviously our family didn't have money, and I had big dreams, big aspirations. And I chased my dreams, you know what I mean? I never gave up.
It's got to be true, though, because Mark had that same thing till he went down the wrong path with the wrong friends. But, man, remember he had the black truck, and he had that El Camino that was all tricked out, and he'd roll up, man. I remember I just knew he was the #1 Raiders fan in all the Bay Area. But he was successful when he was owned his carpet business.
Yeah.
And it was the same. I saw the same mentality and success, except, you know, you stayed the more straightened path than Uncle Mark did. But you just, and you were always generous. You know, we grew up feeding the homeless out of your restaurants. I still remember years and years. Actually, when our pastors first moved here, they came up and we served all those homeless people. But that was years of serving. Grandma, you'd cook all the turkeys. We'd get it all donated. Grandma would make all the pies. And we'd do that all day, every Thanksgiving for years. And the one year we didn't do it, it was the worst Thanksgiving ever because we all fought all the time. So you're like, that's it. We're going back. I mean, I think we were burned out. But then after we realized we were all fighting all day long, we decided to go back and do it again. And it was such a good run, man.
Yeah, but you know, that's where your blessings, you know, you sow and then you reap the harvest, right? But you don't do it for that motivation.
Yeah, you don't.
You know, when you're
a good principle, though.
Yeah. I think when you're a gladiator, you have a lot of compassion for other people. Not everybody's like us, right? You know, our upbringing, our background, the church, everything had an impact on our lives. And so,
Do you feel like you've gotten softer over the years? You still just
no,
as
I'm
gladiator?
still, you know what? No, I'm still the same guy.
When was the last time you fired somebody?
Oh, a couple weeks ago. Huh. You know, that,
You used to tell me. So when you said
we don't have much turnover, but once in a while, you know, there's people.
You are so political.
No,
It
seriously.
tells you right now. No, you used to tell me. You'd say, I don't think you have the guts or the brass blank to run a store. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you have to fire people. You go down to Howe Avenue right now and you fire this guy. I was like, he was my friend. Well, at least I thought. I didn't really have friends, but I looked up to him because I was at that store a lot. And you're like, nope. And you didn't tell me why. You just told me to go fire him. So you made me go down and fire this guy. You remember this story?
I don't remember the story.
Kevin. So I had to go fire him. And then it wasn't until after the fact, because then he got a little nasty. It wasn't until after the fact I asked you why. I'm like, why would you make me do that? Because I was really torn up about it. And you said, because I found out he'd been stealing from us. And so one thing I don't tolerate, you're stealing, you're out. I treat that guy good, I do this. And I never forgot that because you made me go do it even though you didn't tell me why. You just said go fire him. So I had to do it, didn't want to do it, but it did build something in me. And I remember afterwards you told me, and he didn't need to work for us, but you would always you would come in. I remember when I was working, I could always tell when you were near, and this is before GPS, your car would pull up on 20th on J Street. You'd see everyone start hustling around that restaurant like you've never seen them. It was like little ants going to work. And they were so afraid. You'd get in, you start just walking through with a white glove, making sure everything was clean. You had a spirit of excellence on you.
Yeah.
You didn't tolerate excuses. You wanted to be the best, and you expected the best. How did you find people that would even think that was normal? And today it's so much harder.
You know, it's you have to invest a lot in people, to be honest with you. You know, people that worked for me for 30 years. Tommy Giannatis was there from his whole career. So
Really?
he was an old guy. And I think that, you know, you have to strive for excellence, and you have to build relationships. You know, I invest a lot of time and energy in people. You know, I used to every day pull another employee aside, sit down, have a cup of coffee. That was my regiment. I want to make contact with everybody because they're the ones are in contact with the customers. So most of my good ideas came from other people. I still to this day, 30 years later, have employees call me and tell me what an impact I had on their life.
That's
Seriously.
true.
That now they're very successful.
It's true.
And they said, Steve, we learned that principle from you, you know, because I treated people good, but my expectations were high.
Remember that one? I remember she was a server, and her husband, I think they were just dating at the time, he drove cars. He was the delivery driver for pizzas. And, dude, they were just dedicated. She served.
Yeah,
and
they ended up owning their own store.
They ended up owning their own store, becoming successful. And I remember running into him one time. I'm like, dude, was it Rod?
Yeah.
I go, bro. And he goes, hey, man, everything I learned was a delivery driver at J Street. I learned from your uncle. He would watch you just come in and say, and it was like he was taking notes.
Right.
I mean, it's like how many kids? I mean, you look at the dishwasher, Danny. One day he owned his own store.
Yeah, many people. And many people went on to own other businesses, not even in the restaurant business. But if you have the mindset, you know what I mean? If you invest in people, it's going to pay off.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to be soft. You got to be tough, just like your kids. You got to have discipline. And if you don't have the discipline, they're not going to grow. You know, so you have to be tough. It's tough love. It's tough love.
It's true. What about would you say if you had to give some tips on helping people be successful? What was some things you could speak into them that could help them? Because honestly, I think we're in a soft generation. I can't tell you how many chiropractors come in. They wouldn't make it 3 months with me.
Yeah.
You know, and I could tell just from the interview. So I have to work harder because you got these guys that they couldn't even handle maybe a week.
Right.
You know, you get the ones that say they can handle it, and then they're whinging, whining about everything, and they're putting 25-hour weeks in.
I think it's tougher today. Really, I do. You know, because it's a different generation. They didn't grow up like we did.
Well, I'm not as old as you. Don't say we.
Well, but I mean, still, you're going to turn 50 tomorrow or
Wow.
But
Throwing
anyway,
that out there. Yeah, it's true.
That's still young. But I mean,
you beat it into me.
That's right.
I will say this: my brother and I you would always just come up and tell us that we need to level up our life, quit crying, quit being. He used to pin me down and beat me till I'd say you were my favorite uncle. I mean, do you remember this?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, of course you do. And then it was almost like you were intimidating us because then you'd be so ticked we'd beat you in ping pong. But it's like we gained your respect. I remember the first time I beat you, I was in your head. I was like my most proud moment. I mean, that was better. Beating you in ping pong was better than if I scored, got an interception and ran it back and scored a touchdown for the football team. I mean, that never happened. But beating you in ping pong was better than that. You know what I mean? I just like, I would go, I'm going to beat Uncle Steve when he comes. I mean, I was just my number one goal.
And that's good. You know what? You want to build a competitive spirit, right?
Yeah.
Everything in life, and that makes life exciting. Well, my God, I'm still competing, right?
It's true.
You know, I compete against everybody in my segment, in my business, and, that's just my nature. I want to be number one. I tell my kids every day I go to school, when I take them to school, it's important to strive to be number one. If you're number two, that's okay. Just don't let it happen twice. No, just kidding. But
You're not
but
kidding.
seriously, I put that in my kids. Look at my kids.
Yeah.
My God, they're excelled. I got one graduating from med school. They're all 4.8. I mean, everything they do, they excel.
It's true.
Zachy took that powerlifting contest here in San Diego. 14 years old.
That's
you
true.
know, and I still tell him, he bench pressed like 350, weighs 160.
He bench pressed 350.
Or it was a little over 300, but he's only 158 pounds.
I know. I can't
He
believe
won the class, 400-pound deadlift. And I told him I used to have girlfriends lift that much weight, which is, I mean, so I don't let him get a big head because you remember I was bench pressing over 400 pounds.
It's true. It's true.
And,
but I mean, your arms are like T-Rex. It only had to go 2 inches.
Huh?
It only had to go 2 inches. Look at my arms. That's why I couldn't bench that much.
Yeah, that's
You
not-
bounce it off your chest. And your
No, I
chest
never bounced it.
Oh,
So, Matt, one thing about me,
Oh, here
I'm
we
very
go.
competitive. I used to hold that weight down and go 1,002 and push it up. I never bounced.
you were a gladiator.
I never arched my back.
How much younger is your brother?
Huh?
How much younger is your brother than you?
4 years.
4 years. Yeah, so you were in high school, and Uncle Mark wanted to hang out with you, but you wouldn't let him unless he put on the gloves and would beat as a freshman or an 8th grader, he'd have to fight your friends that were juniors and seniors.
Yeah, playing football on the football team.
Or boxing, and
Yeah,
you said, if
I
you
used
want
to
to
have to, and I have to pull them off them.
Yeah.
My little brother just beat the snot out of these guys. And they were, on the football team. I go,
Yeah, most families have Christmas, and you guys are talking about, Christmas things. My uncles wanted to know who could hit harder. And so we had a family Christmas competition, and they were going to punch each other. I mean, this is like yesterday. This was on our Combi Lake house. He goes, all right, which uncle? This is to my brother and I. We're little kids. Who do you think can hit harder? I'm like, we don't know. How do we know? Well, we're going to find out who says uncle first. So you punched Uncle Mark, and, dude, it looked like you just broke his arm. And I remember he winced a little bit, and he looked right. Today it's like this slap. Have you seen this slap your face?
Yeah, that was
Dude,
us.
you guys were inventing that before this was a thing now. I wonder if you still have a chin. Uncle Mark could have made a lot of money, I think, at that. But anyway, so you punched him. It looked like you broke his arm. He winched a little bit and said, that was good. But then the way he looked at you, I remember he hit you so hard, your whole arm exploded.
Oh, yeah. And back then I had like 19-inch arms.
You had
Remember
huge
that thing
arms.
was just, and
I remember I almost peed my pants going, oh my gosh, his arm's broken.
yeah, I've never exaggerated. My brother's probably the toughest man on the planet.
Oh,
and he was young. He was an incredible.
Yeah, it was the next
incredible
level.
guy.
That was the
This
next
guy.
level mindset.
Yeah, he was definitely something else. Unfortunately, his mind, wasn't powerful enough to overcome the obstacles in life. He gave into-
Well, he just got with the wrong crowd. I mean, when you're trying to prove a point and you're going to date the Hells Angels girlfriend, that's not a good. I mean, I would just say there's other places to
Right.
find a girl. So when you walk into a bar and pick a fight with the Hells Angels, you're not the smartest man I know. You might
Yeah.
be the toughest man I know, because it's amazing how many of those Hells Angels got out of his way.
Yeah.
But that was the beginning of the demise. But he was tough as nails.
Toughest man I've ever met, really.
Toughest man. Unbelievable. But anyways, Christmas. That was a Christmas special.
Yeah.
How's your arm doing?
It's back to normal.
It's back to normal.
Took a while.
Yeah, now 63 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but Yeah, so anyways, the upbringing was interesting. Competitive was interesting. I would just say, tell us about, what do you think are some of the business things that you've put in? Not just mindset, but what are some tangible things that have made you, I mean, your company's exploding. You have another 100 stores that are going to open this year. You could retire if you want to, but you keep saying, why would I retire? You're still having fun. You love life. You have joy. You're raising your family. You do whatever you want to do. Why are you still doing it at this age when you don't do it for the money?
It's for the challenge, right? What are you going to do? Sit home? I tried that. Sit home and look. When I bought that house in El Dorado Hills, I thought, oh my God, I got the best view. Every morning I'll have my coffee. Look, about 2 weeks of that, man, I was going crazy.
It's true.
So, I think that, I love it. It keeps you young. I still feel like I'm.
You do run circles around a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Is that a mindset?
It is a mindset. If you tell yourself, of course, when you get older, you get some pains that you didn't have before, right? But if you give into that, like a lot of friends that I went to high school with, oh my God, they're falling apart because it's your mindset.
Yep.
You know what? To me, when have you ever seen me where you say, how you doing? I say, I feel great.
That's true.
That's my mindset.
Yeah.
I feel great.
I've never
Do
heard
I have
you.
a pain here? Do I have a pain? Yeah, everybody has pains.
Yeah.
But I don't give in to it.
You think you got that from great grandma?
I don't.
Do you remember how feisty she was?
Yeah,
you got that same little fire.
Yeah, I think.
Grandma had a fire. Great grandma had a fire.
Yeah, they were all tough people. Right.
Well, did you read great grandma's memoirs? Like, we just found them. And she talked about, and then grandma, after she passed away, grandma was in a carriage with great grandma and great grandpa coming over the plains when they were, it's almost like 1883.
Yeah,
you see
right.
that one with Tim McGraw?
Yeah, yeah.
When I read great grandma's memoirs about coming over with her little girl and Billy Clyde, Uncle Billy, literally they came over on a horse and buggy. She was telling the stories how they had to kill this, and finally they were tired, so they just stopped in Arkansas because their goal was to come all the way out west.
Yeah.
They stopped in Arkansas just because too many people had died and people were too tired, so they stopped it. They owned that plot of land. They started the farm, and yeah, I thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
And then Grandma grew up just milking cows, and
They were tough people.
they
Those
were
people
tough people.
yeah.
You think some of that we just got from that tough Southern?
Yeah, I think some of it's genetic. Some of it's genetic. But,
Yeah, we had to get mindset from somewhere.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of weak Sallys out there.
My mom was tough. My grandma was tough. Right? They weren't your average women. These they survived during the Depression. The 3 women running a huge farm.
That's true.
Get up in the morning, do the cows, get in the cotton fields, work for 12, 13 hours.
Well, you look at everybody like Uncle Billy, he's successful.
Yeah.
It's like he has this mindset too. He doesn't like to be beat. He still owns a record.
In college football.
College football.
Yeah.
I think he got his teeth knocked out.
Yeah. I think he had his teeth knocked out several times. Yeah. I tell him I think he has some brain damage.
Well, he's successful.
Yeah.
It's almost like this.
And he's 86 and he still plays golf every day. I took him and the other Bill that was 90. Every year we go the White River fishing. Those guys jump on and off that boat like they were teenagers.
Really?
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah. You know what? They have a mindset.
Yeah.
They're not going to slow down.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. As you get older, you can't slow down. You still got to grind it. I had someone the other day. He was gonna follow me around for the day, and finally about 3:00, he was asking if we were gonna take a break. 3:00.
Yeah, you're kidding.
Like, dude, we got an afternoon shift, and I got church tonight, and then we'll play. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, how do we instill that into some people?
I think it starts in the home, right? I mean, we're all our parents. My parents were hard workers. Their parents were hard workers, and a lot of it has to do, like with your kid. You invest a lot of time with your kids.
Yeah.
When I stay over here, I'm amazed. You get up early in the morning. You're helping cook breakfast, get them off to school. Then you go work. You got church. I mean, that's amazing.
I
right?
love these little kids, man. I figured I see the kids that are products of what's going on out there. Man, you gotta treat them tough.
That's right.
I have people that come over that are with us. They know I love my kids, but like, dude, you're so tough on your kids. I'm like, no. If Dad's taking the trash out, guess who's right beside me? I got to teach them how to take out the trash. Because guess what? When Merrimer's as tall as that trash can, he's taking it out. Just because he's 5 doesn't mean he can't be out there with me, taking the trash out.
And I'm like that with my boys at home. I tell them, look, if you're not downstairs at 7:30, okay, 7:30, I mean, not 1 minute after, there will be consequences, okay? Everybody has a job. Like Zachy's job, on Saturday morning, he gets up, empties all the garbage cans, they all have jobs and responsibilities.
That's right.
And, I'm not an easy guy. If you tell me you're going to do something, your word's your bond. We're in agreement that you're going to do this, 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 and this. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to provide. When you get ready to go to college, who's going to come step up to Howard's education cost me over $100,000 a year. Go to Vanderbilt.
Really?
Right. My kids are in all the best, but I have demands. And, I don't want to back the play of a loser. Right.
Yeah.
So I want to be sure my kids are winners, and they are. I'm so proud of them.
Winning's a mindset, man.
Yeah.
I would just say that I think more parents need to talk to their kids about winning and losing. I think the participation trophies and all this woke agenda stuff, I mean, how do you rage against it being a business owner in California and still hold the line on hard business?
Again, you know what, Matt?
I mean, you built your attorney's house.
Yeah.
I went over one time and he goes, "You like my new Harley?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Your uncle bought that." And I go, "My uncle bought you a Harley?" And he goes, "Well,
it's got a lot bigger since then. I've bought them houses."
That's true.
Oh, my God.
Well, you shouldn't punch employees.
Yeah.
You don't do that anymore. You've gotten wiser.
Yeah.
Remember that time you bought that one guy a car? He was like, you bought him a car, and then he kind of did
the corporate chef. Yeah, when we were doing the bistros.
Yeah, and then he got a little entitled, and you drove over to the house, opened the door, punched him, and took the car.
Yeah, that was a bad story. But,
that was a great story.
No, what happened was the guy went to the corporate office to get his final check. I'd already fired him.
Yeah.
He went to get his final check, and he was abusing the office staff. So I said, just stall him. Give me enough time to get there.
I remember.
And I got there right when he was coming out of the corporate headquarters. He was walking out the door, and he was a cocky guy. I just flattened him, right? And then he started to get back up, and he was stupid. He tried to get back up, and then I got on top of him. And then next thing I know, a girl is grabbing my hair, So anyway, I didn't know it was a girl, so I turned around and clocked the girl. So I got two people on the ground, right? So I called Glenn, my attorney. I said, I got a problem here. And he said, Steve, go home, park your car. I'll take care of it.
It's true.
But
it's true.
That was crazy
No,
stuff. Now, I don't recommend, anybody that's listening to this podcast.
Listen, don't worry. The people on here, no, everyone knows that. But I mean, well, that was nothing, man. When that guy at our Madison store was piping off and either slapping the girl on the butt, he wanted more, they drank too much. Dude, you picked those two dudes up and threw them out the door, and then they kicked a hole in your Corvette. You went out and whooped all three of them.
Yeah, there was two of them.
Oh, two of them.
But one guy was about 6'5" big, and he was cussing at this poor little 18-year-old at the host stand.
I remember.
You quoted me a half hour, So I just pulled my new
I was
Corvette
16
up at the front door, and I walk up the guy. I said, "Look, you don't need to be talking like that in front of these young kids." I said, there's no way we can predict to the minute when that guy's going to get up from the table and the guy starts lipping me off. And anyway, long story short, I hit the big guy and he flew through the glass plate. Can you imagine a restaurant with packed? I mean, people waiting.
Prime time.
Prime time. I hit the guy. He flies through the window. 250 pounds hit that window. He went right through it. And the little smaller guy, he ran out and saw me drive up in that Corvette. He put his foot through the quarter panel.
He didn't know it was fiberglass.
Yeah. Unfortunate for him, his foot got stuck in the fiberglass, so he couldn't get out.
You saw red, though, man.
Oh, my God.
You whooped him.
To be honest with you, that's probably as mad as I've ever been. I got that guy. And so next thing, the DA calls me, and he goes, Steve, first time I met you, you're a business guy, you're a nice guy, you seem like such an easygoing guy. He goes, but I can't buy this anymore. These people, this guy's medical bill was $225,000, these two guys. And the one kid's dad's going to sue you because he's an attorney. He says, but it's lucky for you, these guys had a rap sheet that was 6 feet long. And he goes, I don't want to see you in this office again. He goes, next time call the police if you got a problem.
That was so
but
funny.
it was
You
funny.
couldn't do that today.
But I'm good friends with everybody in the police department downtown.
Well, I
That's
mean,
what
you've been there enough.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in your 70s and you're still got a temper on you.
you know, I've mellowed a lot.
No,
but,
look at your neighbors. The UFC guy almost knocked you out the other day.
Matt, come on.
Well, I mean, I
It
won't
is-
tell the story, but he was doing the wrong thing. You just chased him down, didn't know how to back down. And he tell you, hey, I don't want to hurt you. And you're like, yeah, but then a neighbor intervened. You didn't know who he was. And then the police showed up at your house and you're like, Steve, you would have gone to the hospital. He was a big UFC guy. You can't be doing that, man. You're 70.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But hey, it's good to know you still got the fire in your bones.
Yeah, I still feel good. My mind tells me I can still do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, and you still look at your fist, man. I like last night when you beat me at Chinese checkers, I wanted to punch you, but then I looked at your fist and I said, man, if he hit me back, he'd probably knock me out. So I chose wisdom last night, but there was everything in me that thought about it. But then, what if I did get one lucky shot and I knocked a 70-year-old out? It would never look
I'd
good
be
for
proud.
me. You'd be proud? Shut up. I know what that means. If I could knock you out, I mean, if you'd give me a chance, I mean, if I got one shot, I'd be too nervous to take it. Because if I took my shot and I didn't knock you out, my life would suck
You know
the
what,
next
Matt?
punch.
Everything in life is about your mindset, right? About your mindset. If you have fear, if you don't have confidence, even in business, whatever you do in life, you know what? You have to have that gladiator mindset.
It's true.
And if you do and you build that, there's nothing's impossible for those who have faith. That's even a Bible saying, right?
Yep.
Those principles work for even people that don't have that religious background. Now, it's a lot better if you can have faith unto salvation. So, you know what? I look at my life and I go, you know what? This life very short. It seems like yesterday when you talk about these stories. It doesn't seem like that long ago. And this life just comes and goes. But you know what? Eternity's forever. And you know what? I've learned through my whole life. It's like people in the Bible, they probably say, my God, David, how could he be a man after God's own heart? He was a murderer, adulterer. He did all these bad things.
Yeah.
And it's because I tell people all the time, you know what the difference between David and the average? Most people, when they're living a life in sin, they're doing sin, they run from God. They don't want to be down at the church, having it put in their face. David ran to God. He never ran away from God. He ran to God. When he got, and none of us are perfect, right? We're all human beings. We make mistakes. But the main thing is, you know what? God's all forgiving, you know what? And you can always, it's never too late to change. And you know what? That's kept me going because I feel, I love people. I mean, we talk about all these people beating people up. But,
No, you do love people.
I
man.
do love people. And
You only beat up the ones that took advantage of other people.
That's right.
I've never
That's
seen
true.
you ever get in a fight over something meaningless. They were always defending somebody else. It's like you don't fight for yourself. It
Right.
was always somebody picking, like a bully.
Yeah.
You don't like bullies.
I don't.
You
like
always
those.
taught me that.
Yep.
You always said if there's a bully at your school, I remember this one guy, I was talking to you, and you said, if you're my nephew and you see a bully picking on somebody and you don't do anything, I'll never do another thing for you again. I remember I was in 7th grade and you taught me that because there was this kid picking on this other kid. And you said, well, what'd you do about it? And I said, nothing. He's way bigger. And he goes, I don't care how big he is. You let a bully now, you'll be bullied the rest of your life. You better go handle that business. And I'll never forget, I went up and said something. Thank goodness I had like 10 other people get behind me. And I realized if I have some big guys behind me, I can say a lot of stuff. That served me well till I got beat up my sophomore year. But, I mean, it was pretty good until then.
Yep.
But you always defended other people's honor.
Yeah.
If you taught your kids anything, obviously it's mindset. Obviously you talked about the biblical foundations. You take them to, you don't want them missing Sunday school. You want them to have that foundation, train them up in the way they should go, and they'll find their way. But what do you think some other things that it's real important to teach your kids these days?
Well, I think you have to be a role model for your kids. I tell my kids, look, lying, God hates a liar and so do I. You know what I mean? I've learned over my life, we've all lied, we've all done things, but as I've grown, I've learned that, you know what, it's not worth it. There's consequences for everything you do that's wrong. So I tell my kids, I'd rather you be honest and tell me what you did, because if I find out you're not telling the truth, the judgment will come down. Okay.
Yeah.
I said, we all make mistakes. I've made many mistakes in my life. I'm a pretty understanding guy, but don't lie.
Any
I
of
said,
your
not
kids?
only does God hate a liar, I hate a liar.
Yeah. Do any of your kids sass you?
Not too much. I had to manhandle Zachy, the one that's the power lifter. And he came downstairs afterward. He said, I didn't deserve that. And he kind of bowed his chest. And I said, you don't want to go there. I told him, I said, you don't want to go there. I'm an old dog. I know how to handle myself.
Did he
you don't
go
want
there?
to get my fat. No, he didn't. He said, Dad, I'm so sorry. He felt bad, but I just, I said, look,
I think my 6-year-old might go there on me.
yeah. So anyway, he was upset, and maybe I was a little too hard. You know me, I can be.
I do know you.
I'm tough.
Yeah.
I'm tough. And so anyway, but my kids, I love them. They're great kids. And
All right, let's talk about one. I want to take you down another memory lane. You had a radical encounter with Jesus in Romania. So I will just give my side of it. Is my uncle? You were at the wild time in your life. You were living with your girlfriend, living the high life, very successful, cars, money, fame. You were doing the thing. You were going to Romania actually just to. It was actually to go visit. You were on your way somewhere, but you were going to stop by a manager, a Romanian manager.
No, what happened
Or
was
cleaner. You were just going to stop by.
Yeah, he owned the janitorial. He was a Romanian guy.
Yeah.
And I love this guy because he was not world champion, but in his country, he was the middleweight boxing champion.
Yeah, you loved that guy.
Oh
remember?
my God, this guy just
He was our janitor.
Yeah. So he used to hate it every day because you remember he said, when I saw that black Mercedes, my God, he told me later, right? He goes, because you're so picky, I'd go in, I'd find something wrong and make him do it. So he didn't really like me. He didn't know me well. One day I went in there and I said, let's sit down, Abram. His name was Abram. Let's have a cup of coffee. And we sat down, we started talking. My God, he told me his life story. It was amazing. I mean, God, this guy was the real, he talk about a tough dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he escaped, they were shooting at him over the Danube River when he escaped. And he lived in all these different countries, spoke 5 languages. Just an incredible story, his life. So I became friends with him. He's a gladiator, right? So I told him, look, I want you to be my guide. Let's go to Europe and you can be my translator, show me all these places. I've been there several times, but some of these places you tell me about, I've never even heard of, So he says, okay, I agree on one condition. He says, if we can go to Romania, it was 1990 because the government just got overthrown. He goes, I want to go back and visit my family. I haven't seen my family in years. So I thought, that'd be good. I'll get to see Hungary. So we flew into Hungary, and that's where the whole trip started. I almost got killed on the border. The borders were very corrupt. And anyway, we spent that time. I ended up in an underground church, and I was sitting in a hole thinking these people were crazy. They're all speaking in tongues, like 12 or 13 people. And all of a sudden, this young girl just goes off, starts prophesying. And she told me my whole life. Can you imagine? I'm in this church, thousands of miles from home. I don't know anybody. This lady told me everything about my life from birth to where I was sitting in that hole.
I know. I know that. These
was,
people might not know, but I remember you came home. You literally quit drinking. You changed your whole life. You married the girl you were living with. I mean, your whole life changed.
Yeah.
Remember, he had the vision of, there was this thing coming down from heaven. It was like circling you. I mean, you were such a changed person. You led all your crazy people, friends to the Lord. You had your party crew. They all saw a real transformation. And you went straight gospel. I mean, you got more people saved, I think, in a year than anyone I know.
Yeah. So,
you're like an evangelist.
A lot of things happened to me. I never was great reader, right? So the Bible's a hard read, right? So I remember I used to read the Bible and I'd say, God, you know what? Give me revelation, okay? Because there's so many denominations. There's so many different interpretations of the Bible.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'd start reading the Bible and I'd get the supernatural revelation on some of the scriptures. And I knew it was super because when I got home, a lot of pastors, remember I used to speak in a lot of churches, and they'd say, Steve, I've never heard anybody explain it like that. You know what I mean? And, it really had a lot of impact on a lot of people in the church. And, God's good. So I'm a firm believer that even more of my blessings came later in life because I understood more about what's God's will for my life was, right?
Yep.
And it's not just religious people. I'm not. You know me. I'm not a real overly religious person.
No.
It's just I believe God's word. God's word is all powerful. It can change your life. It can change your life. It
Yeah,
can
well,
change
you came back. How long were you there for? I mean, there's so many
Well, I
details.
went back so many times. Remember, my plane went down.
Yeah.
I had many miracles happen.
Many miracles.
I saw many miracles. So when I come
Tell
back,
the story why you always pray over dinner now.
Huh?
Remember what you told me? Like, you'll never not pray over
Well,
dinner?
a buddy of mine was an evangelist in Ukraine, and I think it was Moldova. No, where the radiation went. What was that called?
Yeah.
In Ukraine.
Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Yes.
So all the farmlands, we did a tent revival, right? We did tent revivals over there. And I remember John had went over to these people afterwards. They invited him to lunch. They weren't Christian. And they were all sitting at the table. And when they were at the table, they were dishing up soup, which was kind of customary. Everybody had a bowl of soup. All of a sudden, there was a knock on the door, and it was the State Department. They were in the area checking the radiation levels in the water. So they came in, and they were checking the faucet water. And then the one guy says, "Look, you mind if we put a probe in one of those bowls of soup? We wanted to see how much radiation." They put it, and they went around to each bowl. And the guy got to John's bowl, and the meter just stopped. It wouldn't read. No reading on the meter. So he went back around. I mean, he was saying, how could this be? And then he went back to John's, and nothing. The bowl had it, the big bowl, and everybody else but John's wouldn't get a reading. And the guy says, how can that be? And so John looked at him and said, look, I asked God to bless my food to my body. My whole life, how we used to pray.
Yeah.
But you take it just for, we'll pray. But my God, he prayed on his food. No radiation in that bowl. That's a miracle, right?
That's a
you know what I mean?
miracle.
And so these people, everybody, he even prayed the people through that were the State Department, what a testimony that is, right?
I know. You came
so
home, and I remember
I have photographs
you sat
still.
us all down.
I got to look at this tape, but where their farm was like 40 meters. The land was dead. Nothing would grow on the land. And I remember John, he went around and anointed the post and prayed over these people's farm. I have a picture of that farm 1 year later. It looks like Garden of Eden.
Really?
After it grew all back, and you could see all the dead land around it, right to the post. I have that video. Oh,
you got to get me that video.
Yeah, I got to find that video.
People need to hear these supernatural stories because you came back, and I'll never forget, we were just casually. And then you said, hey, none of you are going to casually pray over the dinner anymore. And you told that story.
Yeah.
It stuck with me going, I think I was just about to go, it was 93. You came back in 90, but in 93, I was listening to you while I was a senior in high school going, dude, this is serious.
So, I used to go to church, and people would say, share your testimony, because I saw many miracles. I saw one of the kids got washed 4 miles down the Danube River. He was absolutely black and blue, his body. He was dead as a doornail. And Don, that guy that I said had the prophetic gifting, he began to pray on him, and this guy, his color came all the way. He lived. The guy was dead as a doornail. Okay?
Yeah.
So I used to go to the
I've heard these
churches. When I got back to America, I used to go to churches. I tell them, look, let me tell you something. I'm already rich. I'm not going to pass an offering plate. Because a lot of people think, they tell these stories. They're just trying to get your money. I said, look, I didn't even want to come to this church today. The guy begged me to come share my testimony, right? You know. And I said, but I'm going to tell you, God is real. And I said, look, I'm a guy that's not motivated by, I'm not trying to get your money. I didn't even want to come here today, right? And I said, but I'm going to share the testimonies and what I saw with my own eyes. And I said, and I've never been on drugs. I'm not hallucinating. Look, God's the real deal. And you know what? My God, that was, when you see things like that, it's life-changing, right?
Remember that underground church you said you saw something levitate and it freaked you out?
Oh, my God. The power of the Holy Spirit would drop in these rooms, and it was like unbelievable. I would have thought I was on drugs, to be honest with you. It was just the power of God would fall in these meetings.
Yeah.
And there was nothing like it. And I was thinking, man, I never felt this at home in the church ever. You know what I mean? This was powerful stuff, right?
It's true. But you can't go to those countries. There's witchcraft, there's demonic stuff. And if you don't have power,
we've lost relatives because I came home sharing my testimony with him.
Yeah.
And then he was the head of Youth for Christ. He died in the mission field. I told him, you better pray up.
Yeah.
You might not think some of this stuff I'm telling you is real. It's real.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not one of these kind of guys that's going to go around telling stories. Look, I'm busy enough, right? I mean, I'm already being blessed. I don't need to make up stories
it's true.
And tell you these things. But
You came back eyes wide open, and you took your faith very serious, where we had preachers within the family that were like wanting to argue theology.
to argue theology.
And it's like, bro, why don't you just believe in the power, man? The book of Acts
That's
is
right.
still alive today.
God's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Exactly.
Okay?
Hey, but there's no power.
And you have power in your life. It's like we talk about business, you know. When you worry, don't worry about a thing. I've been through every obstacle you could think of. I've been plane wrecked. I broke my neck. I've been in a, look at all the things that have happened to me.
Yeah.
And I'm still running around like crazy.
It's
right?
true.
You know why? Because I believe God. I believe, I've been in major lawsuits, right? You've seen me. You know what? God works everything together for the good for those who love him and have faith. It only operates by faith.
Yeah.
I mean, now that company that I had the lawsuit, I'm going to end up owning that company.
It's true.
Why did I, don't stress. Don't stress. You know what? Because when you worry, you're telling God that you don't have enough faith.
It's true.
Don't worry. Just get excited because you know what? At the end of the day, by faith, you can overcome all things.
I try to think about people like, do you really think we were created? So some people like, when I talk to them, they go, yeah, I think I believe in God. I'm like, well, he has a purpose for your life. Do you think God would just create you? You're supposed to burn 80 to 100 years off your life and then you just die. And while you're here, just figure out how to make money?
Yeah. Exactly.
No, like this is an adventure. This is building something on the inside of you. Man, the whole thing needs to be about sharing the gospel, the good news. And while you're here, why don't you just apply some of those biblical principles and make some money and bless your family and leave it on to generations?
Yeah. And to be honest with you, Matt, I talk to people all the time. I go, look, if you're going to believe something that has some bone, right? For example, history is proved out. Okay, there was 5,000 eyewitness accounts that saw Jesus that weren't part of his clan. Right?
Yeah.
5,000 documented. Okay. They said David, that kingdom never existed. 10 years ago or whatever, they dug up and found the Bible and everything that they teach was right in the tomb with them. Okay. Look, there's too much. It said in the last days in the Bible said even the stones will talk.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe that's archaeology because they've dug it all up now. They know it's all true. These kingdoms existed. And they've got it all documented. So if you're going to believe something that, that can be proven.
Yeah.
Okay. Jesus did get up from that tomb. Whether you believe him or not, it's historical. It's too many witnesses. It happened.
Yeah.
So, to me, am I going to believe somebody that came back from the dead? Or I'm going to believe some guy over here who has a different theology saying that, we came out from some pollywogs, okay?
Yeah. Or someone that says, have 20 wives, 50 wives.
Yeah. It's, the bottom line is God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And I know in my life, my God, I never even, everything that happens to me ends up being good because I trust God.
Yeah.
I'm not moved by what I see. Okay, or my emotions. I'm only moved by one thing, and that's his word. Because it says in the Bible, his word is truth, okay? And it's everlasting. And it'll never come back void for what? Those who believe. If you have faith, there's nothing. You could charge hell with a squirt gun and come out the victor, okay? I mean, the bottom line is I've seen it over and over. And as you experience all these victories in your life, you realize, oh, my God, I mean,
hey, when you size people up, when do you know they're full of it? You meet everybody. You're in every circle, big, small. You've been to every big party. How do you know who the...
Really, what do you mean? Spirituality-wise?
No, I mean spiritual. I got that down. I'm talking in business. Like, how do you know who you want to go into partnership with?
You know what? I mean, first of all, the partnerships I do go in, I'd be sure I'm the one in control. All right. I'm not leaving my fate to anybody else.
Yeah.
But, people like Nick. Nick is from India, my partner now in the sandwich business. And my God, he's on fire. You should see him now every day. Praise God. Thank you, Jesus. because I told him many times. We prayed on a store one time. I said, let's pray on the store because I'm worried, okay? And so he doesn't know any, he has no religious background really,
Yeah,
right? So we're praying on the store. It ends up being a record store. His mouth was just, Steve, I can't believe that. Power of prayer, you know what? And now every day he says, you know, praise God, Steve, you know, he's good. Who can be against us if he's for us? You know, he's all excited.
Yeah.
Because he sees that, you know, it's a true thing.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
Don't be moved by what you see in the realm.
Yeah.
Only be moved by my
physical.
word. My word is truth everlasting, and it will never come back void for what? Those who believe, those who have faith. Faith drives our life. You don't even get to heaven by being a good person.
Yeah, it's true.
It says, you know, it's not by works, lest any man should boast, right?
Yeah.
It's by faith. You can't get to heaven without faith. Many times I've prayed for Christians and go to church Sunday, Wednesday, give tithes, do it all. And I'm sitting there praying with them in the hospital because your sister or somebody,
Yeah.
calls me up and says, can you go do this? And these people went to church their whole life, but they have no faith.
Sad.
Let me tell you something. You better build your faith because you know what? David didn't just get up one morning and defeat that giant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had built his faith over his lifetime. The lion, the bear, that's this. When
Yeah.
he got to that hilltop and his big gladiator brothers were sitting up there, he was a kid.
Yeah.
He looked down at that giant and said, no problem. I'll go down there and take him out.
Yeah.
Right. He had faith.
Yep.
But he built that faith. If you wait until you get the bad diagnosis, you got cancer and you're 4th stage and you're not going to live, okay, that's too late to be getting your faith. You better build that faith up to that point because that's the giant in your life at the time.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're not going to overcome that giant unless you've had many victories in your life. It doesn't matter how many times you've went to church.
Yep.
You know, you get to heaven by faith and faith alone.
Yeah.
Okay? If
love
you
it.
believe that Jesus died, which is a proven historic, right?
Yep.
He rose, okay? And he's the Lord of your life.
Yep.
Man, you're sitting pretty.
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's amazing how many people don't know how to stir their faith, if you will. So if you could,
There's a lot of people preach the gospel, like I told you, they're never going to make heaven. It says that in the Bible.
well, I don't have to worry about me, and you know what?
No, I'm not
know,
worried about that.
I know.
I'm just saying.
That's
there's
true.
many gospels out there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
look at all these different churches.
So if
some
you-
don't believe in the power. Some believe that, Jesus, that was then, it's not now. God said, I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. I never changed. We
It's true.
changed.
We changed. That's right. We try to dumb down the gospel so it makes us feel better.
Yeah.
So if you could leave, because we're wrapping this thing, I want. How do you stir your faith? How do you stir your faith?
Look, faith come by hearing, hearing by the word. It's
Yep.
like I was telling the taxi driver the other day, we were talking on the way over here, and I said, look, you know what? The power's in the word of God. Those words leap off the pages. You know what? The words, none of those promises will come back void in your life. But if you don't know, it's a roadmap, okay, to heaven, and it's a roadmap to your power and happiness here on earth, because God has a remedy for every problem you have in that book. But if you never pick that book up, you'll never know what God has for you.
Come on.
The power's in the word. So you know what? When Satan comes against me, I just laugh. I go, you know what? Greater is he that lives inside me than you, okay?
Yeah.
Nothing. This is what the word says. No weapon formed against me shall prosper, okay? I don't care what it looks like in the flesh.
Yeah.
Believe me. I know ultimately God's in charge. Nothing moves against me, okay, unless God gives that authority.
Yep.
And I know he doesn't because I've read his word. His word says, you know what? My God, if I'm for you, nobody can be against you.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what it looks like.
Let's
You're in
make
the
sure
biggest,
he's for you.
That's right.
what I tell people all the time. If God's for you, then who's going to be
So-
against you?
so
You just make sure you're in alignment with God.
Pick up that book. I used to ask people in the church when I go there, you spend more time watching Fox News or you spend more time in your Bible? And they'd all, they'd raise their hand. They watch more TV than they do.
Yeah.
The book
Yeah.
is your power.
Come on. All right, well,
Right?
that's a good way to teach us. Well, listen, we're going to watch your space, Sourdough and Co. That's it, right?
Yep.
Come on, so we're going to watch that. How many stores are you opening up in this next year?
Well, we hope to do 100.
You want to leave anyone with a parting word of wisdom? We got the faith down, or you think you've said what you need to
Well,
say?
I think-
You're still living a radical life of faith. You're still having fun at 70.
Yep. And I think, I tell everybody, you know what? Whatever you do, you need to spend the time, pick up that back book and read it, because every answer to every question you have is in that book. I guarantee you.
That's right. You got Grandpa Presson and you're preaching
Yeah.
right there. He's a great fisherman too. So he inspired me how to fish, which really may have jumped me because I'm not the best fisherman. Probably because I got tagged in the ear one time with the hook. You remember that off my deck? But my boy is going to be an incredible fisherman. He's got a gift to fish, just like you did. You always got me inspired to fish.
Yeah.
You love fishing. Do you still fish?
Yeah, I love that.
You got to keep that going for your kids.
Yeah.
You live on Folsom Lake.
Yeah,
My
kids are into everything.
You got to enjoy it. I know they are. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming down and doing this. It's going to help stir people. And if anybody can get stirred or wants to be stirred, they got to stir themselves.
Yep.
And I appreciate you being the what was you call it, the lighter fluid to stirring people so they get unstuck. Too many Christians are stuck. Too many entrepreneurs get stuck. And if they just took some of the stuff, the stories that you talked about, they can change their life in a moment. I've watched you redefine. I've watched you get your butt kicked, come over the top, sell this, do that, win here. You just have a habit of winning.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I heard Mike Tyson the other day, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder if Mike Tyson got coached by my uncle. It's like I was listening to you in Mike Tyson, or maybe you took it from him. But regardless, you both have the same animal instinct mindset that winning is a mindset and it's contagious, and you don't settle for anything less. So anyways, love you, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for being that role model in so many funny ways. Couple bad ways, but I learned from, but mostly all the great things in my life, I know I learned from you. My hard work ethic, my never say die, my do not quit, don't take no for an answer. I know I picked that up from you, so I'm grateful for that. So my mom will probably watch this podcast, and she'll be like, I taught you that. So I'm going to let you two deal with that. That's the sister-brother feud, and you guys can let me know who wins.
Hey, look, only you know.
Yeah, that's true. Well, hey, this is another episode of The Maverick Entrepreneur. Stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next round. Ciao.